Alright. Alright, Group 8. The cooling system includes the water pump and the engine with the hub, the thermostat with the heat exchange, and the sea raw water. 1. Pipe plug. 2. Pulley. 3. Water sleeve. 4. Grease seal. 5. Snap ring. 6. Ball bearing. 7. Spacer. 8. Snap ring. 9. Ball bearing. 10. Shaft. 11. Grease seal. 12. Pipe plug. 13. Water pump housing. 14. Pipe plug. 15. Carbon face seal. 16. Adjusting screw. 17. Seat. 18. Impeller. 19. Cap screw. 20. Washer. 21. Idler pulley. 22. Idler shaft. 23. Ball bearing O-ring. 24. O-ring. Alright, this one, I didn't think those were right there. Like, there's 30, there's 31, but there's only faces, there's not 31 different spaces. So that was just wrong. Alright, surface tool or equivalent required surface tool in the tool name. Bearing mandrel, puller, bearing separator, C mandrel, wearing sleeve driver, C mandrel, seal driver, impeller support plate or pneumatic fanalical impellers, only oil seal pilot. Pulley, impeller puller, bearing mandrel, bearing separator, seal, seat, mandrel, bearing mandrel. Standard tools, arbor press, grease gun, bearing packer, field gauge set. Alright, the eccentric water pump. Remove the hug lock nut at the end. The washer 15, hug lock nut with the washer. Now you have the water pump at the short shaft of the part number 3375265 of the pull. Remove the pulley 1. Shaft 7. Remove the large retaining ring 2 with the 335265 or the pulley impeller puller. To remove the impeller with the shaft of the property has a plastic impeller. If the impeller does not have holes on the puller, use the part number 3375110. Support the plate between the impeller and the water pump housing. Use the pressure push of the shaft impeller. Support the water pump housing. Then pulley on the housing side of the housing. Use press for the push of the shaft, varying the sum of the housing. Apply with the pressure impeller end of the pushy end of the shaft. Remove the cup C, figure 12, figure 20, and figure N2 with the face seal of the grease fittings, the relief fittings. Use part number ST1114 or the bearing separator, the bearing assembly with the fixture support bearing and spacer push. Push the shaft from the bearing space. Figure 8-2, the eccentric water pump, the shaft eccentric waste water pump shaft. 1, the water pulley. 2, the retaining ring. 3, the ball bearing. 4, the spacer. 5, the retaining ring. 6, the ball bearing. 7, shaft. Alright, 8, relief fitting. 9, water pump housing. 10, grease fitting. 11, face sealed. 12, cups seat. 13, impeller. 14, hug lock nut. 15 washer. 1 again is the water pump pulley. 2 is the retaining ring. 3 the ball bearing. 4 the spacer. 5 the retaining ring. 6 the ball bearing. 7 shaft. 8 the relief fitting. 9 the water pump housing. 10 the grease fitting. 11 the face sealed. 12 the cup seat. 13 the impeller, and 14 and 15 hug lock nut and washer. Figure 8-3, use the puller to remove the impeller. Figure 8-4, use the pusher to presser to remove the impeller. Figure 8-5, push the shaft out from the bearing. Figure 8-6, remove the retaining ring. 6, remove the small retaining ring that holds the impeller bearing position. Figure 8-6. Use the ST11A14 to support the bearing, push the shaft of the bearing, clean all parts with the clean solve of the drive with the compressed air inspection. Inspect the bearing, check for the damage wear of the race for the bearings, and if the bearings are damaged worn, be sure to check the shaft of the bore of the housing with the damage of the wear, discover the bearings, inspect the bearings, surface of the wear, damage the check of the water pump, impeller for the crack of the corrosion, measure the bore impeller with the outside of the diamond, the impeller of the shaft, the press face for the shaft of the impeller bore bearing must be made 1,000th of an inch. Refer to Table 8.1 with the back of the section for the correct dimension for the parts. The check of the shaft, wear of the damage. Check of the groove of the pulley with the wear of the damage. Note that the new belt will be pushed down into the groove. Must protrude 1/16 into 1/8 inch above the outside diameter of the pulley. The belt must not touch the bottom of the groove. You check the water pump of the housing of the wear damage. Make sure the weave in the hole with the housing open. Make sure the bore in the housing. Figure 8.7 to discard the housing bore larger than 2.4494 of the inch. Figure 8.7 shows the measuring of the bore housing. Replace any of the parts of the damaged bore worn beyond the specification in Table 8.1. Assembly, apply a coat of clean lubricating over the outside diameter of the shaft. Support the new bearing with the part number ST658 mandrel. Use the pressure to push the shaft into the bearing. 8.8. Push the shaft into the bearing until the bearing is against the large diameter shoulder of the shaft. Install the small retaining ring on the shaft. Make sure the ring is against the bearing or the bearing space for the shaft. At the side of the spacer must against side of the bearing. Support the new outer bearing with the ST658. Push the shaft into the bearing until the bearing is against the spacer. Make sure the bearings are turned freely. Figure 8.8, push the shaft of the bearing to prevent the damage of the bearing. Make sure the inner rafe of the bearing is not overloaded with the contact spacer. Apply the thin coat of the Loctite 601 outer rafe of the bearing to support the water pump housing. Put the impeller side of the housing mandrel with the USC 658 mandrel to push the shaft bearing assembly into the housing. Figure 8.9 shows the applying Loctite onto the bearing. Do not support the housing of the thin section with impeller cavity. Install the larger retaining ring into the water pump housing. The flat side of the ring must be against the bearing. Figure 18 shows applying sealant on the seat. Also, the figure 11 shows installing the seat onto the shaft. Figure 8.12 shows the applying Loctite between the shaft and the seat. Turn the water pump housing support the drive housing and apply with the part of the number 3375066 Loctite outside diameter brass part of the seal. Figure 8.10. Push the new seal of the housing until the seat against the bottom of the board and the part number 3375448 mandrel to push the seat into the housing. Use the 3375448. Push the new cup of the seat with the shaft of the 3375448. Put the cup into the correct position against the seat. Figure 11 at 8.11. Apply a drop of Loctite 290 with the cup seat with the drop of Loctite between the shaft of the cup seat. Figure 8.12. Caution: do not apply one of the drop of Loctite. More than one drop of the cup of the seal of the seat becomes fastened together. Apply a thin coat of Loctite 601 instead of the diameter. Impeller support the water pulley of the pull end of the shaft. Pull the impeller on the shaft. The minimum clearance between the vanes of the cast iron impeller water pump housing must be 0.02 of an inch. Maximum clearance must not be 0.04 of an inch. More than 0.04 of an inch. Note the impeller minimum clearance is plastic phonological impeller of 0.03 of an inch. The maximum clearance must not be more than 0.05 of an inch. Install the grease fitting into the housing. The grease fitting must be clean. Install the grease through the fitting of the housing until you can see the grease on the opposite fitting of the hole. You must use the grease to meet the specification of MIL G3545 does not use the grease for the thickening soda for the soda lubricating supplier can also supply the grease for the meet of the specification. Do not fill the housing more than 2/3 full. If the housing is filled more than 2/3 full, the bearing can be damaged. Install the relief fitting with the fitting must be clean. Support the water pump of the impeller and with the shaft. Do not support the pump of the impeller. Push the pulley on the shaft until the hub of the pulley is against the outer bearing of the figure 8.14. Pull the hug lock nut washer to the long shaft water pump. Tighten the nut to 900 to 100 foot-pound torque. Disassembly. Remove the cap screw lock washer. Hold the inlet housing figure 8.15 to the water pump housing 9. Remove the inlet housing. Alright, let's figure 8.14 installing the pulley onto the shaft of the water pump of the NTA engine. Disassembly. Remove the cap screw lock washers holding inlet housing figure 16. Figure housing 16. Figure 8.15 to the water pump housing 9. Remove the inlet housing. Discard the O-ring. Alright, 1 is your pipe plug, 2 is the pipe plug, 3 is a retaining ring, 4 is the idler pulley, 5 is the ball bearing, 6 is the retaining ring, 7 is the grease seal, 8 is the shaft, idler shaft, the bracket. Alright, and then we go to 9 where you got your water pump housing inlet, 10 pipe plugs, 11 O-ring, 12 grease seal, 13 face seal, 14 cup, C, 15 impeller, 16 water pump housing, 17 pipe plug, 18 ball bearing, 19 shaft, 20 ball bearing, 21 ball bearing, 21 retaining ring, 22 grease seal, 23 wear sleeve, and 24 pulley. A16 pry seal out of the housing. A17 remove the oil seal from the housing. A18 push the shaft out of the bearing. A19 remove the shaft of the bracket assembly from the pulley. All right, you have the part number 3375265 for the pulley. Remove the pulley. 24 for the shaft. 19 with remove the idle puller. The assembly for the housing. Remove the seal. 12 for the water pump for the housing. The round end for the pry bar. Remove the seal. Figure 8. 16. Remove the carefully. Do not damage the bore seal. Remove the large retaining ring. Remove the impeller. 15. You have the 33752. 6.5 puller to remove the impeller, support the drive shaft of the housing, push the shaft of the bearing of the assembly for the housing, remove the discard of the cup seat with the 14 figure 8, 15 face seal, 13 oil seal, 12 from the housing phone shown in figure 18, 17. You have the part number 337526 for the bearing separator to support the large bearing for 20 figure 8, 15 push to the shaft bearing, figure 8, 18. You have the 33752326 support smaller bearing. 18 figure 8, 15 with the push shaft of the bearing, move the pipe plug from the idler pulley 4, remove the retaining ring from the shaft 8, view for the 3375326 for the support idler pulley, push the shaft of the bracket 8 figure 8, 15 for the pulley 8, 19, remove the oil seal 8, 7 figure 8, 15 retain the pulley with the pulley, you flat end with the plunge for the push for the bearing 5 from the pulley figure 8, 20 to discard the oil seal bearing. Alright, 820, remove the bearing from the pulley. Alright, 20, cleaning all parts of the cleaning solve with the drive with the compressed air. Inspect with the clean the impeller corrosion, tracks the corrosion. Remember the bore impeller for the outer side of the diamond impeller end with the shaft of the best fitting fit between the shaft of the impeller bore with the minimum of 1,000 of an inch. Refer to table 8.2 for the back of the section, the correct dimension of the part. Check the shaft with the wear damage. Check the groove of the pulleys and wear damage. New belt when it was pushed down within the groove of the protrude with 116, 118, 1.16 or 118 of an inch above the outside of the diameter pulley below the belt, but not touch. The belt must not touch the bottom of the groove. Measure for the bore of the drive of the idler pulley. Measure for the outside diameter of the pulley end of the water pump shaft. Measure for the outside diameter of the pulley end of the idler shaft. The rest of the fit between the small diameter of the pulley bore must be between a minimum of 1,000 of an inch. Check the wear sleeve of the wear of the damage. Remove the sleeve with the usual chisel. Cut the groove in the figure 821. Be careful not to damage the pulley. Use a figure 821 shows cutting the wear of the sleeve, and also 822 pushing the wear of the sleeve for the pulley. Use a punch to push the sleeve of the from the pulley figure 822. Check the water pump housing for the crack, damage, corrosion. Make sure the weep of the housing is open. Measure for the bore in the housing figure 822. 823 refer to table 82 for the correct dimensions. Assembly for the idler pulley bracket. Apply grease for the bearings. Make sure for the grease marking the specification mill G3545. Part number ST561. Bearing mandrel. Push the bearing into the pulley figure 815. 824 the seal installed into the pulley. Install the retaining ring figure 6 figure 815 with the flat side of the retaining ring. Give the bearing and install the new seal with the 7 with the flat side of the seal, even with the hip supplement shown figure 824 with the part number ST1159 seal drive and install the seal. Push the pulley bearing assembly onto the shaft and 8 figure 815 install the retaining ring 3. Pull the grease pull cavity with the cavity 1/2 to 2/3 full with install the pipe plug assembly with the water pump. Apply a thin coat of clean lubricating oil with the shaft of the figure 19 figure 815. U for the part number the ST658. Bearing mandrel to support small bearing 18. Push the impeller end of the shaft into the bearing against the larger diameter on the shoulder on the shaft shown in figure 825. The part number 3375318 mandrel. Bearing mandrel supporting outer ring with the 20 with the push pulley. Figure 825 installing the shaft into the bearing. End of the shaft through the bearing until the bearing against the large diameter of the shaft. The part number of the ST1155 with the seals and mandrel to push the small seal into the water with the pump housing 9. Seal must have even with the 15,000 of an inch below the edge of the 4 figure 826. 826 installing the seal of the housing. Apply a thin coat of Loctite 601 outside of the diameter bearing the figure 827 shaft and bearing assembly with the housing figure U for the 3375318 push shaft the bearing the install the housing figure 828 with install the larger retaining ring 815. Alright, 827 applying Loctite onto the bearings. 828 show the installing a shaft assembly into the housing. Install the grease fitting. Make sure the grease is clean. Then install the grease through the fitting of the housing until you can see the grease in the opposite pipe of the plug. Must be used for the grease. Meet the specification mill G3545. Do not use the grease with the soda soaps thickeners. Alright. For 829 install the seal of the housing. Seal into the housing. Or support the water pump, the housing of the impeller side of the housing install with the large grease seal with the part number of the ST1161 seal driver to install the figure 8. 29. Install the idler pulley bracket assembly, the water pump housing, support the water pump assembly, the impeller end of the shaft. Push to the puller drive pulley 24, figure 8. 15 on the shaft of the pulley against the bearing. Support the driver's side of the housing. Apply the code part number 3375066. Loctite on the outside of the diameter brass part of the seal. Figure 830U for the part number 3375448. Mandrel to push the seal into the housing. Figure 831. Figure 830 shows applying the Loctite to the seal. 831 installing the seal to the housing. 832 applying a Loctite between the shaft and the cup seat. Also 833 measuring the clearance from the impeller, installing the new cup seat. Figure 14-8, figure 815 onto the shaft with the use of the 3375448. Push the cup seat on the shaft. Apply one of the direct Loctite 290 for the cup seat with the Put the Loctite between the shaft of the cup seat and the figure 832. Caution: do not apply with more than one drop of the Loctite in 290. But more than one drop will cause the seal of the cup seat to become fastened together. Support water pump with the pulley end with the shaft of the pulley impeller with the onto the shaft with the minimum clearance between the vanes of the impeller housing that must be known as 20 thousandths inch maximum clearance, but not more than 40 thousandths inch. The minimum clearance for the plastic phenolical impeller must not be less than 30 thousandths of an inch. The maximum clearance must not be more than 50 thousandths of an inch. A clear and lubricating oil, new oil ring. Install the oil ring with the groove of the water pump housing. Install the housing number housing 9 into the housing 16 and down damage. Do not damage the O-ring. The full flow cooling water pump disassembly. Remove the 19 figure 834 with the adjusting screw for 16. Remove the other pump assembly. Remove the driver pulley tube, the impeller 18 from the shaft 10. Use the part number 3375265. Remove the pulley and the impeller figure 835. Phonetic impeller does not have the puller holes. Remove the large retaining ring with the hole for the bearing assembly and shaft assembly. 835. Remove the pulley and impeller. Alright, 834 water pump exploded view. 1 is your pipe plug, 2 is the pulley, 3 is the wear sleeve, 4 is the wear the grease seal, 5 is a retaining ring, 5 is the ball, 6 is the ball bearing, 7 is the spacers, 8 is the retaining ring, 9 is the ball bearing, 10 is the shaft, 11 is the grease seal, 12 is the pipe plug, 13 is a water pump housing, 14 is a pipe plug, 15 is a face seal, 16 is a adjusting screw, 17 is a cup seat, 18 is the impeller, 19 is the nut, 20 is the spacer, 21 is the grease seal, 22 is the retaining ring, 23 is a spacer, 24 is a O-ring, 27 is a ball bearing, 26 is an idler shaft, 25 is the ball bearing, 26 is the idler shaft, 27 is the idler pulley, 28 is the washer, 29 is the cap screw. Push the shaft on the impeller and remove the impeller with remove the grease seal with the 4 figure 834 from the housing with the pry bar. Remove the seal with the figure 836 down. Move the bore. Move the large retaining ring figure 5 figure 834 with the holes of the bearing with the shaft of the housing. Support the pulley side of the housing. Push on the impeller end of the shaft. Remove the bearing shaft of the housing. Remove the cup seat. Use the drift. Pushing the grease seal and 11 and face seal 15 from the housing shown figure 837 to discard the cup seat and seals. Use part number ST11. 14 to bearing assembly fixture support the outer bearing of the figure 834 with the spacer 7 with the push shaft of the bearing of the face figure 838. Remove the retaining ring figure 834 with the ST1114 the support retaining ring. Push the shaft of the bearing the hole of the spacer out of the pulley assembly with the jaw of the impeller with the must have the copper plates to prevent damage to the spacer. Lightly hit the shaft with the plastic hammer to push the shaft from the spacer figure 839. Remove the oil seal figure 834 from 836, remove the seal from the housing. 837, remove the seal from the housing. Figure 838, removing the shaft from the bearing. And also 839, remove the pulley from the end shaft from the spacer. Alright, the pulley, use the round end of the pry bar, remove the seal, do not damage the bore of the seal, remove the retaining ring, 22, remove the discard of the O-ring, 24, remove the bearing assembly from the pulley, remove the plug from the pulley with the hole of the pulley and vise, pull the flat end of the punch through the plug with a hole, lightly punch, hit the punch with a plastic hammer, the brush, push the bearing assembly through the pulley, use the pressure on the mandrel to push the shaft, and 26 the figure 834 with the bearing, 25, cleaning. Cleaning the clean parts of the cleaning solve with the dry with the compressed air. With the cleaner, check with the bearing, the wear damage. If the bearing raised for the damage, be sure of the outside the diameter of the shaft of the bearing board damage. Discard the bearing for the inspection. Check with the impeller cracks corrosion. The damage made for the bore impeller. The measure for the outside the diameter of the shaft of the impeller end of the shaft must be at least 1/1000th of an inch. 1,000 inch press fit between the impeller and the bore outside the diameter of the shaft. Check the wear sleeve with the dry pulley. Wear with the damage. Remove the wear sleeve with the worn damage. Use the chisel shown in figure 841 to cut the groove into the wear sleeve. Use the chisel to push the sleeve into the pulley. Figure 842 to use the part number ST1159 wear sleeve. The driver to install the new wear sleeve. Check the pulley groove to wear the damage. A new belt pushed down into the groove protrudes 1/16 or 1/8 of an inch. Above the outside diameter of the pulley. The belt is not belt must not touch the bottom of the groove. 6. Check the shaft to make sure they are straight and are not damaged. 7. Measure the bore to drive pulley and idler pulley. Figure 840. Remove the bearing assembly from the pulley. Okay. 841. Cutting the wear of the sleeve. 7. Measure the bore of the driving pulley, idler pulley. Measure the outside at the pulley end of the water pump idler shaft. That must be at least 1/1000th of an inch between the press fit between the pulley bores and the outside diameter of the shaft. Check the water pump housing damage. Check for the housing bore. The discard of the housing bearing bore with larger than 2.44984 inches. Measure the weep hole of the housing open. 842. Remove the wear sleeve from the pulley. 843. Measure the bearing and the bore of the housing. Assemble a thin coat of the cleaning and lubricating oil the outside of the diameter out of the shaft. Then install the new bearing on the shaft. Use the part number ST658 mandrel to support the bearing. Figure 844. 844. Installing the bearing on the shaft. Applying light coat with lubricant Loctite 601 outside of the diameter of the bearing. Use the press to push the bearing shaft fully into the bearing against the pulley bottom of the bore. Install the bearing retaining ring with the flat side next to the bearing. Install the clean grease for the fitting with the plug hole into the pulley. Install the grease through the fitting into the pulley until you can see the grease through the bearing. And remove the fitting with the install of the plug. Install a new grease seal with the slip of the seal toward the pulley. Use the pulley bore. Apply a light coat with the clean lubricating oil with the new oil ring. Install the oil ring with the groove within the shaft. Install the spacer for the shaft. Remove the spacer over the oil ring and the spacer against the bearing in figure 845. Install the idler pulley. Assemble the water pump housing. Support the impeller side with the water pump housing. Put the rear grease seal in figure 11. Figure 845. Installing the spacer on the idler shaft. And also figure 846. Installing the seal of the housing. 847. Alright, on the part number of the ST1191 of the seal driver to make sure the lip of the seal is where the driver pushes the seal into the bore housing and the seal at the bottom of the bore. Apply a light coat of the clean lubricating oil with the shaft 10 with the figure 834 then install the ST658. Support new inner bearing the pulley end of the shaft of the bearing until the bearing is against the large diameter shoulder of the shaft. Install the small retaining ring onto the shaft. Use the SG658 with the support of the new outer bearing with the 6 figure 834. Install the new bearing spacer 7 onto the shaft. Put the shaft and spacer through the bearing against the spacer figure 847. Installing the bearing onto the shaft. Make sure the bearings turn freely. Erosion and prevent damage of the bearing. Make sure the inner reef of the bearing is not overloaded with the contact spacer. Apply a thin coat of Loctite 601 outside the diameter bearing. Install the part number 3375180 of the oil seat with the pilot impeller end of the shaft. Figure 848. Install the bearing shaft with the assembly of the bore housing and use the ST658. Push the bearing shaft onto the housing. Remove the 3375180 pilot. Install the large retaining ring with a flat side toward the bearing of the groove of the housing. 848. Figure 848, installing the pilot from the oil seal onto the shaft. 15, installing the clean grease for the fitting of the install of the grease from the housing through the unit. Fitting it until you can see the grease for the outer bearing of the figure 834. You must use grease that meets specification for the metal G3545. Do not use the grease and thicker for the sodium soap. Caution: do not install too much grease that can cause damage of the bearing. Install the front grease seal with the 4 figure 834 with the water pump housing with the lip seal with the motor with the bearing with the seal with the install so it is even on the top of the bore. Use part number ST1191 seal driver to install the seal figure 849. Alright, and turn the water pump housing cover the housing over. Support the drive side of the housing. Apply code number to 3375066 Loctite on the breast part of the seal outside diameter figure 850 with the use of part number 3375448 mandrel to install the new seal of the housing. Install the new cup seat with the 17 figure 834 with the use of the 3375448. Install the cup seat figure 851. Apply one drop of the Loctite 290 with the cup seat. Put the drop Loctite between the shaft of the cup seat figure 852. Caution: do not apply any more than one drop of the Loctite. More than one drop will cause the seal of the cup and the seat become fastened together. 848, installing the pilot of the oil seal of the shaft. 849, installing the seal into the housing. 850, applying Loctite on the seal. 851, installing the cup to the seat. 852, applying Loctite between the shaft and the up of the cup seat. Alright. Remove the grease fitting of the housing, install the pipe plug with the housing, apply light coat with the Loctite to the bore of the dry pulley, push the water pump into the bore of the pulley against the large diameter of the shoulder and shaft. 22, apply the light coat of the 601 Loctite 601 bore of the impeller, shoot the pulley end of the shaft, push the impeller on the shaft, the clearance between the beam for the cast iron impeller housing that must be 20 thousandths or 4 thousandths of an inch, and clearance for the fanatical air impeller must be 30 thousandths to 50 thousandths of an inch. The fan, check the fan blades to make sure that they are not bent, cracked, or have any other damage. Replace the fan if any other damage. When do not try to make any repair for the fan. Use the chain to clean the fan, dry compressor air, the fan hub, the fan head with the set bore without bearing the spacers. Alright, 1's the cap screw, 2's the lock washer, 3 is the spacer, 4 is the gasket, 5 is the cutter pin, 6 is the slotted nut, 7 is the washer, 8 is the roller bearing, 9 is the pulley hub, 11 is the roller bearing, 12 is the shaft, 13 is the seal, 14 is the washer, and 15 is in the... This is on the fan hub assembly exploded view. Assembly, remove the pipe plug figure space with the 3, figure 8, 53 with the gasket, 4 with remove the cotter pin with the 5 with the lock nut, 6 with the washer, 7 in the shaft, the 12 with the support, the fan hub, 9 with the small end with the shaft, shaft up, push the shaft with the hub, and then push the bearings, 8 and 11 with the one bearings, 13 with the shaft, remove the bearing race with the shaft, cleaning solve with the cleaning parts with the drive with the compressed air inspection, check the shaft with the damaged wear, check the fan hub with the fan space with the crack, check the pulley groove in the fan hub with the wear with the damage of new belt, the most speed when pushed down into the groove, the must protrude 1/16 to 1/8 inch from above the outside of the diameter of the pulley, the belt must not be touched with the bottom of the groove, the replacement shell of the shaft that is designed, damaged or worn, to replace the fan hub with the face fan space for the cracked and damaged. No assembly applied with the grease of the bearings before installation. When the install with the fan hub does not use the grease seal with the lip, install the outer race of the bearings 8 and 11 with the figure 853, the fan hub 9 with the push outer of the race of the cup side with the into the hub onto the race against the small diameter of the bore. Lubricate the rear bearing with the grease, install the bearing outer race of the push of the seal 13 into the bore. The seal must be installed so that every edge of the pulley bore not more than 20 thousandths of an inch. Below the edge, make sure the top of the seal is stored. The bearing applied with the coat of the clean lubricating oil inside of the diameter seal. Slide the shaft through the 12 through the seal bore and bearing. Lubricate the front bearing 8 with the grease. Install the bearing in the outer race. Install the washer 7 with the Loctite 6 with the shaft. Slowly rotate the fan hub with the tighten with the Loctite tighten Loctite until you can feel the tight light friction against the fan hub. Note, the hub must be rotated while the nut is being tightened to make sure that the bearing is in the correct position. Loosen the lock nut only enough to install the cotter pin. Do not bend the cotter pin at this time. It is hug lock nut and is the lock. Loosen the nut approximately 30 degrees. Check the end of the movement, the end of the clearance of the fan hub, the clearance between the 3,000 to 10,000 of an inch, and if at the end of the movement more than 10,000 of an inch, then move the cotter pin with the tighten the lock nut with the next position within the letter of the cotter pin through the lock nut shaft. The end movement is less than 3,000 of an inch. To support the fan and the hub, to loosen the lock nut one term of the use the arbor press for the push against the lock nut end of the shaft. The force against the shaft must not be more than the force required to push the bearing onto the shaft. Read steps 5 and 6 to check the end of the movement of the end of the cotter pin so it will stay in position. Install the clean grease fitting with the fan hub. Install the grease for the fitting of the fan hub cavity with the 60-70% full. The use of the grease meets the specification mill G3545 does not use the grease that have sodium and sodium soda soap thickeners. Remove the grease fitting and install the pipe plug with the tightening pipe plug with the 5 to 7 foot-pounds of torque. Apply 2/10 or 3/10 of an ounce of grease to the outer bearing and install the new bearing gasket in the fan spacer 3. Fan hub with the thorough bore with the bearing spacer disassembly. Remove the grease fitting with the figure 6 854. Relieve the fitting of the fan hub. Remove the fan spacer lock down. Remove the fan hub with the shaft. Remove the fan front bearing with the spacer 4 and 5. Remove the grease seal with 11. The rear bearing for 10. Remove the outer race with the bearing 3 and 10 with the hold the punch against the backside with the race thigh. Hit the punch hammer with until the race solution with the bore. Remove the race remove the retaining ring from the bore. Clean the parts with the leading solve with the drive with the compressed air inspection. Check with the shaft with the damage wear. Replace the shaft with the damage worn. Check with the fan hub with the fan space for the damage. Inspect the pulley groove of the fan hub for wear and damage. New belt when pushed down into the groove. The pulley must protrude 1/16 to 1/8 inch above the outside diameter of the pulley. The belt must not touch the bottom of the groove. Replacement fan hub with the fan spacer for the cracked or damaged. Install the new retaining ring 9 figure 854 within groove of the fan hub bore. Install the outer race of the bearing 10 with the fan bracket into the fan hub and push the place of the racing of the bore until the race is against the retaining ring. 1 for the cover, 2 for the block nut, 3 is the bearing, 4 is the bearing spacer, 5 is the inner spacer, 6 is the grease fitting, 7 is the relief fittings, 8 is the fan hub pulley, 9 is the snap ring, 10 is the bearing, 11 is the seal, and 12 is the fan hub shaft. Install the bearing spacer 4 into the fan hub, then install the spacer for the fan spacer and for the hub to make sure the full holes for the spacer are in alignment with the grease holes over the hub and the outer reef of the bearing into the fan spacer into the fan hub to place the race related bore until the race against the bearing spacer, but do not damage the retaining ring. Leave us the race against the spacer. Lubricate the rear bearing with the 10 with the grease for the install of the bearing outer reef to push the seal 11 into the bore. The shear must be installed into the even edge of the bore out no more than 20,000 of an inch below the edge to make sure the lip of the seal, the door of the bearing. Apply the coat of the clean lubricating oil inside the diameter of the seal side, the shaft through the seal of the bearing. Install the spinner spacer into the fan spacer and with the fan hub, then the spacer out of the shaft and into the outer spacer. Lubricate the bearing with the grease. Install the bearing into the outer space for the lid. Install the washer lock nut to the shaft of the weight and the lock nut with 145 to 155 pounds of torque. Rotate the fan hub, tighten the lock nut. Check the end movement of the end clearance for the fan hub. The fan hub must rotate freely, and if the clearance must not be less than 3,000 of an inch, more than 16,000 of an inch. And if the clearance is not correct, check the width of the bearing 3 and 10. But the bearing width can be 710,000 of an inch or 714,000 of an inch. If the bearing width is more than 714,000 of an inch, remove the material and from the end of the bearing space to adjust the end of the clearance. Remove the material end of the space for them to not have the grease holes. Fill the fan hub with the grease until the 60 or 70% full. Then install the pipe plugs tight fitting at the 55 to 7 foot-pound torque. The thermostat, having never operated the engine without a thermostat, but the thermostat helps to control the temperature of the combustion chamber in the engine. Assembly, remove the connection with the water outlet, figures 855. Gasket 6, remove the waterfront water manifold 1. Gasket 2, remove the thermostat 3 and seal for the 4 and from the housing. So you have 1 is your manifold, 2 is your gasket, 3 is your thermostat, 4 is your seal, 5 is your housing, and 6 is the gasket, and 7 is the outlet. Inspection. Check the connection manifold housing for the corrosion, check cracks, or other damage. Check the operation thermostat. Check the value of the thermostat to find the water temperature thermostat opening in position. Pull the thermostat thermometer for the containing the water of the used device, then hold the thermostat thermometer so that they will not touch the container. Heat the water thermostat must begin with the opening with the temperature with the water with the same temperature marked on the body of the thermostat. Continue the heat of the water until the temperature is 15 inches to 20 degrees Fahrenheit. More than the value marked on the thermostat, the temperature of the thermostat must be fully open. The thermostat fully open when at least 375,000 of an inch space between the seal sleeve of the brass part with the thermostat. The replacement of the thermostat does not operate with the correct temperature range. Assemble the new seal with the figure 4 figure 855 into the thermostat housing 5 with the part numbers ST1225. Seal mandrel into the seal. Make sure that the number of the metal side with the seal against the mandrel. You install the seat. Make sure that the seal is correctly installed with the seat. No correctly installed engine or coolant. We can put past the seal, but the thermostat is closed with the position cuff with the engine temperature to be colder than the normal. Install the thermostat with the housing. Slide the sleeve of the thermostat through the seal. Install the front water manifold in the new gasket thermostat housing. The water outlet connection. New gasket thermostat housing. The raw water seawater pump disassembly. Remove the pump drive with the gear with the gear or pulley. Remove the part number 3375257. The pulley. Remove the gear or pulley. Remove the cleave with the 10 figure 856 for the shaft 9. Remove the retaining ring 13 with the pump driving belt. With the you must remove the rubber seal 14. Before you can remove the retaining ring. Remove the cover and gasket 2 with the remove the rubber plug 3 and the impeller. Note the pump is installed with the original position. Take note of the direction of impeller blades. This will help to correct the assembly of the pump. Push the shaft 9 with the pump having 7. Alright, 856 is your raw sea water pump exploded view. 1 with the cover, 2 with the gasket, 3 is the plug, 4 is the impeller, 5 is the cam, 6 is the house, 6 is the wear, 7 is the housing, 8 is the slinger, 9 is the shaft, 10 is the key, 11 is the oil seal, 11 oil seal, 12 the bearing, 13 snap ring, 14 rubber seal, 15 is the seal assembly. Remove the slinger, remove the cam, the water wear plate, remove the seal assembly, clean all the parts with the cleaning drive with the compressor air, with the inspect, check the impeller, scratch with the cracks, other damage, check the insert with the cam wear plate with the surface and be smooth, check the shaft, the wear with the damage, check that housing for cracks, other damage replacement. Place any damaged parts applied lubricating shaft of the 9 figure 857. Push the bearing 12 with the part number onto the shaft of the push. The bearing onto the against the large diameter on the shaft. Install the key on the shaft. Push the old seal and 11 end to the drive side of the housing figure 857. 4. Hold the rubber slinger within the correct position housing. Install the shaft of the housing through the slinger in the shown figure 858 and push the bearing on the shaft assembly in the bore housing to make sure the flush against the outer race of the bearing. Install the rotating figure 856 and install the seal gasket with the carbon seal O-ring ferro washer Maricel washer seal summer figure 856 on the shaft. Then into the bore housing board. The new seal of the housing board with the lip of the seal must be toward the impeller. Figure 857 shows installing the oil seal into the housing. Figure 858 shows installing the shaft into the housing. And figure 859 shows installing the cam to the wear of the plate. Alright, 868 installing the drive gear onto the shaft. 862 impeller installed for the left-hand rotation. 862 impeller. Impeller installed for the left-hand rotation. Install cam 5 with the wear plate with the tickets at shown figure 859. Use the over the heat with the drive gear 200 degrees Fahrenheit support the impeller end of the shaft. Push the drive gear on the shaft 860. Apply glycerine soap the edge of the impeller blade with the inside of the impeller. Install the rubber plug. The direction of the water flow through the pump includes control direction impeller blade. Make sure the impeller is installed correctly. Figure 861 and 862 show the direction of the water flow through the pump. Install a new gasket figure 856 and they'll cover the one. Alright, 8.1 is the specification inches the eccentric of the full flow cooling water pump. You have your housing bore, shafting diameter, shaft diameter, pulley end, outer bearing, inner bearing, shaft sheet location, shaft diameter, impeller, carbon face seal, impeller vane body, cast iron phenolical, and poly bore diameter, minimum press bifitting shaft, impeller and shaft pulley. 8.1 specification inches and eccentric of the full flow cooling water pump. Housing bore, outer bearing housing bore, inner bearing housing bore, carbon face bearing housing bore, outer seal housing bore, inner seal shaft diameter, inner end, impeller and shaft diameter, steel location shaft diameter, inner seal shaft diameter, inner bearing seal surface of diameter, outer bearing surface shaft diameter, pulley end, impeller bore, impeller vane, bore to bore, pulley bore, wear sleeve, outer diameter, pulley press fitting shaft, and impeller shaft and pulley. Group 9, drive units. The drive unit takes power on the crankshaft, the camshaft, the actuate, the full pump, the compressor, and other assemblies.